3 British mountaineers attempt the climb of their lives in Alaska. But within sight of the summit, the weather stops them in their tracks.
Steve!
When frostbite threatens the life of one climber, the others must decide. Stay together and hope for a rescue that may never come, or leave their friend behind.
If we leave Nigel here, he dies.
One man risks his life to go for help alone. But tragedy strikes. He faces almost certain death, knowing his friends have little hope of rescue.
I've let them down. I've let my mates down, and they're probably going to die.
Mount McKinley is the highest mountain in North America. It stands in the Arctic Circle. It's one of the toughest climbs in the world. The team has set their sights on the 20,000-foot peak. They've been climbing for an energy-sapping 2.5 weeks and should be one day from the summit. Steve Bull has been climbing for 18 years and has conquered some of the highest peaks in the world.
For me, the mountain environment is a very special and beautiful place. Particularly Mount McKinley, it's one of the great wildernesses of this world. It's been one of my ambitions for a long time.
Anthony Hollinshead is Steve's best friend and his longtime climbing partner.
Climbing is predominantly having trust in your climbing partner. It's paramount that you know what the other's doing.
Nigel Vardy completes the 3-man team. This is his first expedition with the others. He's an experienced climber, but he's never attempted a mountain as treacherous as Mount McKinley.
I sometimes suffer a little bit with confidence, and sometimes I have to say, Nigel, you can do this, you'll be fine. Originally, Steve had the dream of climbing McKinley, and really we perhaps followed his lead.
It would be the first big expedition that Nigel had done, so I think he was a little unsure of what was in front of him.
With Nigel coming into the team, it's obviously changes the team dynamics slightly, I suppose. Stephen and I were used to making decisions.
Right, you ready?
There's an awful lot of pressure to work together well, because you are reliant on each other. Absolutely reliant. There is nobody else there.
Come on, let's get going.
There are a number of routes up Mount McKinley. One of the most popular is the West Buttress. But Steve, Anthony and Nigel have decided to tackle the much tougher West Rib route. After 17 days of severe climbing, they've reached their last camp at 16,000 feet. They aim to go for the summit tomorrow.
The night before the summit bed, we're in the tent. We're all pretty high. I think we're ready for it tomorrow.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, dehydrated meat or fish, or how about our lovely powdered vegetarian option?
He is a real comedy character to know, is Anthony. Full of life, always got a good laugh.
Hey, nice bit of colour you picked up today. You'll be in swimming trunks tomorrow.
Did you not put your sunblock on today?
Steve's quite the opposite. Steve's a very serious character.
Should be like a religion to you, Nigel. You know what the sun can do to your skin up here? Right. Fast up, fast down, OK? So let's strip all the unnecessary gear and pack a kit.
What we agreed? Frillies in tutus.
The conditions can be extremely hostile at this altitude. The team must be sure of the weather before they decide on making the challenging climb for the summit.
Base to Jensen, weather's looking fairly good for the next 24 hours.
Copy that, base. Good night. Good enough?
We better get some beauty sleep then, eh? To infinity and beyond.
Fellas, you should have had this done earlier.
He said, run for the summit, stick the flag on, get the photographs, and back down again.
To get to the summit and back before nightfall, they need to travel light. They leave the tent and most of their equipment behind.
The climb to the summit is about 4,000 feet from here, maybe a little bit more, and it's a lot to do in this altitude, so we've got to go light and get back down before it goes dark.
They now face one of the toughest sections of the climb.
Steve was sort of, come on, let's get on this thing. Bang, 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 and away he went.
On the opening stages, I'm not doing bad at all. But as the day is progressing, I'm thinking that we're moving pretty slow and we need to keep it moving a bit faster.
It takes us such a long time to cover this. The time's really ticking away.
After hours of hard climbing, the team are already behind schedule. They've now reached an area known as the football field, a flat plateau just below the summit. But the weather is changing.
As we walked across the top of the football field, the wind started to increase rapidly.
The temperatures dropped to around minus 50 degrees centigrade, with the wind howling over the summit ridge at about 70 miles an hour. I don't know what that takes you down to, but it's cold, believe me.
Every step is just draining. You're almost crawling, really, just to sort of get your face out of the wind.
It can be like being hit with hailstones, frozen peas, if you've got exposed flesh.
Weather conditions on Mount McKinley are some of the most unpredictable in the world and can cause death by flash freezing in seconds.
We'd all got 17 days hard climbing behind us, which means you don't carry a lot of excess fat, which is what you need in a situation like this.
These conditions are very tough for all of them, but for one, the conditions are proving too much.
What I didn't realise was how cold Steve was getting. Steve was getting bitterly cold.
I can feel myself going down. I'm shivering, my teeth are chattering, my thought process is slowing down, I'm becoming lethargic.
Steve, who is leading the team, is beginning to feel the effects of hypothermia. He's literally freezing to death. They're at over 19,000 feet, and the temperature is plummeting. At such altitudes, the impact of an unpredicted storm like this is devastating. Steve is suffering badly. Anthony and Nigel know that they have to get him out of the freezing cold.
We need to look for shelter! Get somewhere safe, now!
Finding anywhere to hide up there is very difficult. You really are out on your own.
Right! Up there!
By the grace of God, we found a crevasse at the base of the summit cone. We took our ice axes and opened the face of it up, which was very hard work.
I can feel myself going down. I'm shivering. Hypothermia is going to come soon if I don't get out of this wind.
It was a wind that was killing us. And once we were in there, I'm not going to say it was warm, but it was warmer.
Oh God, please.
As the cold's taken effect, your mind's slowing down, your reactions are slowing down, thought process is slowing down. So I'm relying then on others to take care of me.
I need you to hug me. I need you to get some warmth into me.
Steve asks me to sort of cuddle him, keep him warm, really.
You ever tell anyone about this at climbing club? And you're toast.
Anthony was talking to Steve quite a lot, and I think that probably came from the fact that they were great friends anyway. They'd known each other a long, long time, and Anthony just wasn't going to let him go.
Thirsty. Give us a drink. Nice drink. Let's see what we've got here.
Dehydration is a major, major problem.
The team begin to regret leaving their equipment behind.
What's that then, Nige?
We should have carried a stove to reheat and to get some warm food inside us and possibly a better drink inside us.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. Just calm down. I'm here, all right? So shh.
We got to radio for help. Get them to send help. We'll never get Steve down on our own, not in the state that he's in. We've got no choice.
I don't know. He's still shivering and moving. That's a really good sign.
Nigel and Anthony know that Steve would want to carry on, but they now must decide if they should call off the climb and send out a Mayday call.
It's a very difficult decision to actually decide that we've got to make this Mayday call because we don't know how Steve's going to react.
We need to call now rather than waiting till it's too late. Just hope there's enough charge in the battery to get through. Tried to keep it warm, but it's so cold.
Is it okay?
We'll get a better signal outside. Base camp! This is Expedition Denson. Do you copy? This is Expedition Denson, requesting urgent assistance. Over.
This is Base Camp. Base Camp receiving. If you're trying to reach us, we can hear your button being pressed, but no voice transmission. Repeat, your button, but not your voice.
I felt very happy to hear somebody else's voice, that there was somebody there. But they were really struggling to hear us.
We need you to respond by click. 1 click for yes, 2 for no.
And so they started off, are you this expedition? 1 click for yes, 2 clicks for no.
Are you Expedition Zambezi?
We just went down until they got a click for yes.
Are you Expedition Denson?
And at that point, they've got who you are, what route you're climbing, next of kin, equipment, all this information they can use.
The storm is too bad to rescue you tonight. We need you to call again in the morning.
What did they say?
I'm to call. Reconfirm our position in the morning. We've just got to get through tonight. Radio again tomorrow.
Steve? Nige! Steve, stop moving! Steve! Steve!
Steve is becoming dangerously hypothermic, and now Nigel is also losing his battle against the cold.
I don't realise I'm going hypothermic, and my own mind is shutting down.
Anthony must try to keep his two friends alive in temperatures of minus 30 degrees at almost 20,000 feet. It's been a long night, but eventually Anthony emerges to see if the weather at least may be changing for the better. With daybreak comes another surprise.
Morning.
You seem disgustingly fit for a man who was a shivering wreck last night. Obviously these big manly arms of mine.
Stuffed.
Overnight, Anthony managed to slow the process of hypothermia by holding Steve's body close to his own, providing much-needed insulation against the cold.
It was a vast improvement from the previous night. Steve actually was in a good condition.
Come on, let's go and check where we are.
What about Nige?
Oh, we can get him later. Look, just like you and I, let's go and have a look at this mountain that we've been talking about for so long. Okay.
At this point, I'm still hoping to make it to the summit, for all three of us to get there.
Will you look at that?
It's there for the taking. Come on, let's go for it.
Steve, last night you were pretty bad, you know. Nigel thought, we both thought that he should radio a distress call.
What the hell did you do that for? And what did they say?
Nigel went outside to make the call. He said the radio didn't seem to be working.
One last push and we're there. So let's get back radio base and tell them that we're all fine now.
I'm sorry, mate, but you were a real mess.
It's fine. Really. Let's just get back, get Nigel, radio in and push on.
Nigel still needs to radio in to confirm their position and let base camp know that their emergency is over.
I took the radio and I put it on the edge of the crevasse top while I hauled myself up and my rucksack. And I knocked it with my elbow. And just watched this little black dot go flying down the slope. And I thought, you prat.
Base camp, this is Expedition Denson. Do you copy?
It's dead. Which was a hell of a thing to realise.
Base camp, this is Expedition Denson. Please come in.
Your only means of contact with the outside world was gone. And it's the one thing that could save you, is being able to talk to people.
Nigel! Is everything okay? Guys, I'm so sorry. I've dropped the radio. I've broken it.
Nige, your face.
I'd missed this completely. I'd not realised it was happening. And he looked at me and I could feel his hand come up and pull. I got balaclavas here and just pulls them over. And I can't feel this cold. I can feel numbness, but I can't feel any further.
I look at Nigel and I'm shocked. He's in a terrible state. The day before, he got sunburnt on his cheek, and overnight frost must have got into this because his face was swollen up the size of a football. I don't know how long he's going to last. We've just got to get him off.
Let's get you inside, eh?
Look, Steve, so sorry. Maybe the two of you can push on. I know how important getting to the top is for the both of you.
Look, let's not worry about that now, okay?
Steve and Anthony took it fantastically well, actually, and I felt immensely guilty. Still do.
We've got to get down. Get him to a hospital and quickly.
The mountain will be here next year, be here the year after. If we leave Nigel like this, he might not be. We've got to get down.
With the radio now broken, all chance of communication is gone. It's a race against time for Steve and Anthony to get Nigel down the mountain. As soon as they start their descent, the team realize that Nigel is suffering from more than just frostbite.
When we set off back, it's obvious that Nigel is struggling, and we didn't realise that his eyesight was quite as bad as it was.
The swelling on Nigel's face has forced his eyes shut. He's becoming weaker and confused, slower with every step.
It's a feeling of being out of control.
Nigel! Keep moving!
He was falling over and tripping over. It was painful to see. Steve was starting to cool down as again, and that was becoming a concern for Steve. I am worried about both Steve and Nigel at this stage.
Left out. Put it round me.
Go on, fellas! Keep the pace! Come on!
Put it round me.
Come on!
The temperature has now dropped to around minus 30 degrees. Nigel is slowing the team down, and Steve knows that it won't be long before he again succumbs to the cold.
We've got to get down. We've got to get somebody down now and organise a rescue. Tony, I can't keep going at this slow pace. I'm going to go hypothermic again. I have to go down on my own.
The decision when Steve says this to me is do I stay with Nigel or do I go with Steve?
If we leave Nigel here, he dies.
I didn't think Nigel was in a fit condition to sit it out on his own. I don't think he would have lasted very long if he'd been left to his own devices.
You're the only one who can make that descent on their own. It's up to you, mate.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's very selfless of him to stay with Nigel.
You be all right?
Will you?
See you later.
Steve. Watch your step.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I can hear some mumbling going on. And Steve walks away. And I'm looking at him, squinting, thinking, Steve, where are you going? And he's gone.
Nige, we're just gonna settle ourselves here for a while, okay? Yeah?
I'm trying to keep it from the forefront of my mind, but it's obvious that there is a chance that Nigel could die. It's a weird experience seeing Steve go off on his own.
It's a massive responsibility for me to get down, and I feel the weight of that responsibility. It's on my shoulders to make sure that these pair live.
Steve believes the lives of his friends now depend on him, successfully making the treacherous descent down the mountain alone to raise the alarm. He's decided to descend by the more popular West Buttress route, where he hopes he's more likely to meet other climbers. But it's not the route the team used for their ascent, so Steve has no experience of it.
The pressure's on to get down really fast now, but I can't pick out where the route's going. I'm worried at this moment that I'm not going to be able to get down quick enough for Nigel. I know that sometime Anthony will make a decision that he's got to get down if no one's come up to rescue him. And I'm worried that if he leaves that decision too long, he too is going to die up there. I need to get down as fast as I can.
Steve knows he has to find the most direct way down, no matter what the risks.
I'm going to go for the ice chute. I think it's the fastest option, and I can clearly see where I'm going. Down climbing is much harder than up climbing, and when you've not got a rope on or someone to care for you up above, the risk's high. My heart's pounding a little bit. Everything seems firm, everything's holding. Okay, big breath, come on, let's go.
Good. Solid. Okay. Another placement. It's good. Solid. Good. Solid. Good. Solid.
All of a sudden there's a crack. And I'm off. The adrenaline's going, and I'm thinking so fast that these seconds I'm falling feels like minutes. There's absolutely no way I can plant this ice axe to stop my fall. It would just rip my arm out of the socket. I need to stop.
Steve has fallen around 1,100 feet.
Oh, I can't believe I'm still alive. The fall should have killed me.
Steve has severely injured both his legs. The right is fractured, but his left is shattered in 12 places. He's over 17,000 feet up, and in his condition a huge distance from the route where he had hoped to find help. Over 2,000 feet above him, his friends are waiting for the rescue that may now never come.
We still can't eat or drink anything, and this is almost 36 hours after we'd set off. So, you know, it's a long time to go without taking anything on board. There is little we can do to stay warm without using our energies up. Not knowing quite what the next step is going to be. And we're telling kiddies jokes, which aren't very funny.
How do you keep a dog from smelling?
Hold his nose.
Listen. Steve's got down and given him our position. We're gonna be okay.
You're listening and listening and listening and thinking to yourself, fantastic. This could be it.
Help! Help!
I can hear helicopters. You can hear the chopper blades coming round and round the mountain.
Help!
Thinking to myself, are they looking for us? There's a rescue party coming up the mountain now, or we're going to be safe. And the blades go away and sink into the distance.
At this kind of altitude, a helicopter rescue is virtually impossible. Whatever they can hear, it's unlikely that it's deliverance. Beneath them, Steve is critically injured, but is making a heroic effort to drag himself to where he can be spotted by other climbers. His injuries are so bad he might not live, but Steve believes that if he fails, all three of them will die on the mountain.
I've got to gain access to the popular route where people will be coming up. But my only hope is going back up the ice chute I've just fallen down. I've still got the crampon on my right leg, and I'm using that right leg to purchase me up. I can feel the bone grating as I'm going. I get so far up, and my crampon slips, and I'm sliding back down again. On the way down, I bang my left leg. Pain's quite excruciating now. I need to take a look at my legs and see what condition they're in. I roll up my trousers. The bone on my left leg is sticking through the skin. I'm really concerned now that I might bleed to death. And try to put pressure on the wound to stem the flow. Now I'm pressing down onto bone end and just raw fibres showing through the skin.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Lettuce.
Lettuce who?
Lettuce, and it's freezing. Sorry.
That's bad.
I feel very helpless. I really do. And to have somebody there with you is fantastic. He's being like a nursemaid and being a very, very good one.
Frostbite has started to affect Nigel's hands and feet. They're deteriorating fast.
Nigel's extremely weak. He's very cold. And myself, I'm actually getting colder at this stage.
Let's get this glove back on.
As time ticks on now, I am becoming a bit disconcerted about being out another night with Nigel in a very weak condition.
Come on now. Won't be long. Could be on the way any minute.
Steve is desperate to press on for help. He must splint his leg to keep going.
I tie my ice axe around my leg to try and support it. Everything's lined up now, and I'm looking in better condition. Now comes a big test. What am I going to do? If I don't put my weight on the leg, I'll never know, I'll never get off. Gotta give it a go. I'm sitting here in the snow, wondering what the hell I'm going to do. I can't stand up and walk. I've tried crawling. I've got a whistle. I start to blow my whistle in case there's anybody just the other side of the rib. I'm sitting there thinking, what else can I do to attract attention? I've got nothing else. I've let them down. I've let my mates down, and they're probably going to die.
They have now been exposed on a barren mountainside for hours. And even though the Arctic nights are very short, as the sun gets lower, it just gets colder and colder.
It's getting close to sort of 9, 10 o'clock, 10:30 time, where I'm starting to realise that at that time of the day, it'll be very unlikely that a rescue party will come to us. And as a result, it's starting to hit home that we could be out in a very exposed area for a second night.
Nigel? Nigel? Oh, God, please. Nigel! Look!
We thought Steve was the hero of the day for raising the alarm and getting the helicopter to us.
At 19,500 feet, this is still the highest helicopter rescue on record in North America. And it was only attempted because of Nigel's Mayday call the previous night. But it's not looking good for Steve. Night is beginning to fall, and in these temperatures, Steve knows he'll be lucky to survive the hours ahead.
I've got to look after myself for the night now. I've got to think about shelter, about keeping myself warm. What if the wind comes down the mountain? I untie my ice axe from my leg, and I etch out a shallow hollow and build up a small wall. It's enough to keep any wind off. I need to make sure that I stay awake when it's dark. If I don't stay awake, I die. This is it. The sun's gone down. If I think about 4 hours in the dark, temperature's down to minus 50 centigrade, and surviving it, it's a long, long way to go.
Steve's body is succumbing to the cold. He tries desperately to stay alive.
I'm thinking about my family back home in England. That's keeping me going. I want to see my family. I want to go home to them. I've got to stay awake. I'm messing with my leg. Putting my goggles over my eyes so my eyes don't freeze. Even tapping my leg to stimulate some pain so that it keeps me awake.
Climber Steve Ball has had an horrific fall on Mount McKinley. He's been stranded for 15 hours with terrible injuries in unbelievable cold. His fellow climbers, Anthony and Nigel, have been rescued. All he can do now is hope someone finds him before he dies.
Steve!
His friends have no idea that Steve is still lost on the mountain.
Somebody came into my room in the hospital to ask me what Steve was wearing. It's only then I actually realised that Steve wasn't in a place of safety. He'd been there for up to 12 hours out, exposed on the mountainside, and nobody knew where he was.
Climbers have now been alerted and are out searching for Steve, but they have no idea where to look for him and have little hope of finding him alive. It is rare for the human body to survive overnight temperatures as low as minus 50 degrees.
I can't feel my feet anymore. My nose is cold. I don't want to take my fingers out of my pockets. I just want to stay huddled up. I haven't got a lot left. I'm starting to lose it.
Steve's lost all hope of being saved. He hasn't made it to the path. All he can do is wait for death.
I'm hearing voices, and I don't know who it is. I think I'm dreaming.
But it's not a dream. These voices are real.
Tom, on the radio, quick.
I know these voices, and I know I'm being rescued. I know I can't be dreaming it because I'm feeling the pain, and you don't feel pain when you're dreaming. I'm awake. They tell me they're climbers, and they found me, and they're surprised that I'm still alive. I'm cold, but I'm alive, and I'm going to stay alive. I want to go home.
After 2 weeks in Alaska in intensive care, Steve was allowed to travel back to the UK. He spent a further 6 months in hospital and another 2 years in rehabilitation.
My frostbite injuries resulted in amputations of all the fingers and thumb on my right hand, my left hand mid-palm, the left leg has gone below the knee, and my right foot has gone mid-foot. and of course, a little bit of nose.
Anthony and Nigel both suffered from severe frostbite. Anthony lost 2 fingers. Nigel lost all his fingers and all of his toes, as well as needing skin grafts to reconstruct his cheek and nose.
I've managed to travel the world numerous times since all this happened, and go into the Arctic, the Himalayas, and climb. A little slower.
Steve's asked me, as he would, whether we could go back and do it again, and I'd like to think that we will get back and get another expedition planned, possibly all 3 of us together, and do something. But we'll have to wait and see.
I'm disabled now, but I'm out fell running, out walking, I go rock climbing, I go mountaineering, snowboarding, skiing, canoeing. I still go back to the mountains, I still climb, and I still get the same pleasure and enjoyment from the mountains. So, no, it's not worth losing life and limb. But you can't stop going. I'm hooked.
In the depths of a Utah canyon, a weekend of bonding between 2 brothers turns into a nightmare. A simple mistake leaves one brother badly injured.
It was the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life.
Soaking, frozen, and miles from the canyon's exit, the other has no choice but to find a way out, alone in the dark.
It just continued to get worse and worse and worse.
But in such perilous terrain, can he even escape, let alone bring help before the sub-zero conditions kill his injured brother? Southern Utah. This iconic western landscape is the result of 25 million years of sandstone erosion, which have left deep canyons littered with boulders and pools of freezing water. It's harsh and uninhabited, which is exactly why it appeals to experienced canyoneers like Justin and Jeremy Harris.
Jeremy and I have shared a lot of experiences as we grew up as brothers.
Justin's always been an icon to me. He's always been someone that I looked up to.
Canyoneering is a passion that the brothers have shared since they were 7 years old.
We can share things that brothers don't very often get time to share.
Today they're going to tackle a remote canyon over 50 miles from the nearest town.
We were looking for something that would be a new adventure, something that was going to be a little bit more challenging.
They camp for the night and wake up to a freezing winter morning.
Hey, little brother, wake up.
What time is it?
It's time to go.
It had been a while since we'd been out on a hike, and November was, you know, it was a little later than we wanted to go.
It's freezing. We both had done quite a bit of winter hiking, so it wasn't something that was foreign to us, but it's definitely something that's going to complicate matters.
You sure you're up for this today?
I thought about that question, and I think, yeah, maybe part of me as his older brother thought that I needed to make the final say.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah, I'm up for it. You drove all this way, right?
I made the decision that we were going to go for it that day. We started double-checking all of our equipment, making sure that we had all of the hardware that we needed, that the ropes were ready to go. Our route was going to head up towards the pinnacle and then drop down into Baptist Draw. Basically, at that point, you know, it was like a little bit of kind of elation that we'd made the decision that we were going to go forward with this.
As they race towards the canyon's entrance, it's Jeremy, the younger brother, who's at a disadvantage. As a child, he suffered from a debilitating hip condition that led to a full hip replacement when he was only 21.
All of my growing up years, it was something that dictated what I was able to do and what I wasn't able to do.
Hip acting up?
It's never like the cold.
Jeremy's really suffered, and I was always a little bit in awe of the fact that with his artificial hip, he would push himself, and he would find a trail, or he would find a new peak that he hadn't climbed yet.
The brothers plan to follow a circular route. The descent into Upper Chute Canyon will take them 500 feet below the surface. To get back out, they must look for the side canyon at Chute Junction.
We were headed down ledges, and we were hopping from rock to rock and just kind of making our way.
The trail notes say that the route should take about 8 hours. The brothers know they need to complete it well before dark. The dangerous terrain and possibility of flash floods make a slot canyon no place to spend a night.
Are we waiting?
What?
Are we waiting or what?
The water looks way too cold.
There's a technique where you put your back against one side of the wall and your feet against the other side of the wall, and you kind of edge your way over the pools down below. As the canyon got a little bit more technical, it started taking us longer and longer to cover the ground that we needed to cover. I didn't get too concerned about the pace that we were making until we got to the rappel.
Is this it?
That's it.
The drop is too steep just to scramble down. They'll need to use ropes.
I could feel the cold wind blowing up into the canyon, and I was starting to get nervous at that point.
Justin had not rappelled ever before, had never even put a harness on.
How far down do you think that is?
6,000 to 7,000 feet, at least.
You know, you're my least favorite brother.
I know.
It was a good drop.
It wasn't something that you would survive if you fell from.
See? There's nothing to worry about.
I'm not worried. A little terrified, maybe. Not worried.
You'll be fine.
Jeremy was getting quiet at that point, and I don't know if he was having some of the same thoughts I was having about what was happening and how long it was taking us to do this, but I know that things got really, really serious for us. When my feet hit the bottom, it was like huge relief. I thought, hey, that really wasn't too bad.
The scary element about technical canyoneering is once you go over a rappel, unless you leave your climbing rope there, you have no way back out. You have no choice but to continue.
The canyon has proven to be far more difficult than the brothers expected. They're now hours behind schedule.
The tension was increasing, the pressure was on. We really needed to get a move on. Well, it wasn't more than 100 yards, and we ran into a huge chokestone.
No, that's not on the trail notes.
It becomes basically a barrier that you need to climb up and over.
Got some water.
The last thing we wanted to do was fall down into one of these pools and get wet.
This looks pretty good. I think I can take this.
Well, let me get back up there.
I was confident that we could down climb it and not have any problem.
Jeremy, wait! Ah! Jer! Jeremy! Jeremy!
I remember when I heard that splash, that was the last thing that I wanted to hear at that point.
Jeremy! 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 Are you okay? Are you okay?
I can't believe I just did that.
Hold on, dear, I'm coming.
Both hypothermia and frostbite were a major concern. It's the end of November and it's in Utah. I don't know exactly what the temperature was during the day, but it was well below freezing.
Freezing? There's no way we're climbing out of here.
Just double time the rest of the canyon. Get back to camp.
Dusk is just 3 hours away and the temperature's dropping fast. Justin and Jeremy will have to move even quicker now if they're to have any chance of getting out of the canyon before dark.
More fire. Hot cuts are really good right now.
I think we were even in a bigger hurry after that happened. I know I definitely was.
All right.
Now the weather, which has been deteriorating all day, takes a dramatic turn for the worse.
It probably wasn't 10, 15 minutes before there was maybe an inch of snow. It was very cold. And then we hit another big chokestone. I remember looking down over the back of it and looking at that pool and thinking, oh great, water again.
You think this canyon has something against us, do you?
Yeah, I think it might just.
It was a very tricky down climb, even though it wasn't far. There were very few handholds and very few places to stand on the way down.
And footing was a little slippery because of the snow.
I'm slipping. I'm glad you were there.
And I remember just holding on to his hand because that was the firmest thing that I had to hold on to.
Okay.
I remember feeling a shift in his movement and believing he was going to jump to the floor because it really wasn't that far. I let go.
And the next thing I know, I'm basically falling.
Justin!
I knew without a doubt I had just broken my leg, and all I could do was scream. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life.
Just stop screaming! You gotta calm down!
I had never quite heard someone scream in pain like that. It was a really helpless feeling to hear him scream like that in pain and not be able to do anything for him.
Just take it easy, bro! Get up and help me! Take it out of the water! Come on!
And I could really feel how bad he was hurt. It was very obvious that that there were things in places where they shouldn't be.
It's really bad,
Justin's shin bone is shattered in 6 places. Internal bleeding is already restricting blood flow to other parts of his body. They don't know it, but this injury could kill him.
Okay. What time is it?
I remember thinking that my brother has an artificial hip. He can't carry me out. I can't walk out. I can't crawl out, and I'm stuck here.
We're gonna get through this. You think? Okay, make
If I was going to get out of there, it was going to be up to Jeremy.
That was really hard to be the one to take charge, because forever before, he was the person that I would look to when I didn't know what to do.
455, check back to the car.
When I looked in Jeremy's eyes, I could tell just how scared he was.
Really bad. You got maybe an hour of light.
I was gonna leave him there and hike out, which is really hard to do, for the fact that, one, it's my brother that I know and love very much, and two, that real soon I'm gonna be by myself.
Okay, you're gonna have to move me. Up against the wall, out of the wind. You ready? Okay, just do it, do it!
I think both of us knew just how serious of a situation we were in.
Justin's in real danger. Between his injured leg and the freezing temperatures, his chances of survival decrease with every passing hour. Jeremy needs to move on. It's another 4 miles to the side canyon exit, and the light is fading fast.
That's the side canyon there, right?
I'll just crow's nest it up here. Double time it back to the car. Call for help.
Just take it one step at a time. How you feeling?
Good. Considering I've never been this scared.
When we started divvying things out and going through the backpack, we came across my camera. And one of the last things that we did was take a picture of each other, because I remember saying, well, we better take a picture of each other if we don't ever see each other again.
I thought that maybe I might never see him again. And those things, yeah, those things go through your head.
Remember I was saying about you being my least favorite brother?
I never liked you much either.
Hey, chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think the hike's gone so far? Be careful.
Okay.
I could see him for a while before he went out of sight. And I remember telling him, think happy thoughts. And you can do it.
According to the trail notes, Jeremy should be out of the canyon in 4 hours. But so far, the route has proven more difficult and far slower than expected.
I think we were both pretty confident that I was going to be out soon and I could call someone and we'd get him out of that canyon. Had no idea what was really going to happen.
But Jeremy can't find the side turning that will lead him back out of the canyon to the car. And he's running out of daylight.
When it went from light to dark, it was so hard to conceive how far I'd gone, but I kept thinking that I had gone too far. And I ran into pools. And lots of them. At that point, I didn't have a choice whether I was going to get wet or not. What I was looking for was the last canyon that would take me back to near where we started. And I had these trail notes in a pocket on the side of my leg, which was open. It was unzipped and didn't realize that. I looked down and watched water wash into that pocket and wash my trail notes out. It's so murky and so muddy, you can't see anything in it. but just probing through the water with my hands trying to find it, I couldn't find it. So I continued on.
It's been 5 hours since Jeremy left his brother, and there's still no sign of the side canyon.
The sense of time was kind of messed up for me. But as I'm sitting there freezing to death and trying to stay alive, you can't help but think that we may have been a lot better off going golfing that weekend. And then I hear little scratching noises, what sounds like something's fidgeting around. And it's completely dark and I can't see anything.
Hey. What are you doing down here?
As soon as I located this little guy, it was kind of great to have somebody there with me, even if it was a little mouse.
A nut? A raisin? A freeze-dried banana? Get some of that in here. You look like a nut kind of guy to me. Oh, personally, I prefer the raisins.
We kind of became pals there for a little while. And then he scurried off. I was almost sad to see him go.
Jeremy has now been searching for the side canyon exit for more than 9 hours.
When you're in a pool of water that's that cold and you're having to put out that much energy, it's exhausting.
He is disoriented by the darkness, wet and freezing cold. The physical and mental punishment is becoming unbearable.
The whole time it had seemed as if it cannot get worse than this. And it just continued to get worse and worse and worse. It was so cold outside that I wasn't really wet, more like frozen. And I would have these clods of ice that would build up that I would have to break off in order to just continue moving.
Jeremy is close to collapse. He desperately needs to rest and dry out.
I decided it was time to rest. And there was driftwood that looked dry, and built a very large fire, a fire that's about 4 times the size as I would normally build. But it was so cold that I had to be so close to the fire to get warmth from it. Almost had to lay in it. I just wanted to feel dry for a minute. And at the same time, it was very hard to do. I felt really guilty stopping and building a fire. More guilty than I'd ever felt before.
Jeremy needs to get going again as soon as he can, but exhaustion gets the better of him, and before he knows it, he's passed out next to the fire. Deep in the canyon, Justin is beginning to realize just how badly his leg is hurt.
I start feeling this interesting sensation, and I haven't checked on my leg in a while, but it feels like maybe I'm bleeding. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing these blisters, these huge blisters that are coming to the surface on my leg. They're rupturing and the fluid is running down my leg. And the swelling has gotten a lot worse. And I didn't know exactly what to make of this. I knew it couldn't be good.
Swelling in Justin's broken leg has created so much pressure that blood fluids have burst the veins and capillaries to create fracture blisters. If infection sets in, Justin could lose his leg.
I ain't gonna
brother. Wake up.
What time is it?
Time to go.
I burnt almost everything. Burnt my pants and burnt my jacket, but thankfully didn't start on fire myself. So I put myself together and headed back to where I'd left off.
Jeremy should have been out of the canyon by now, but in the dark and without trail notes, he has missed the side canyon exit. Now his every step takes him further away from civilization and any hope of rescue for his brother. Justin is starting to succumb to the effects of immobility and bitter cold. He can feel himself slipping into unconsciousness.
I know that if I fall asleep, if I get too comfortable, I might not wake up. And I'm thinking, I have to come up with something that's going to keep me sharp, that's going to keep me from going into shock. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my family, my wife, and my 4 children. And the thought comes to me, just repeat over and over again their names and their birth dates.
Madison Patricia Harris.
April 5th, 2000.
Tanner Justin Harris.
July 28th, 1996.
Mackenzie Susan Harris. Mackenzie Susan Harris. May 1st, 1995.
And my oldest boy, Skylar Christopher Harris.
Skylar Christopher Harris, December 3rd.
And I knew if I can do this 100 times and I don't get anything wrong and I don't forget what I'm doing, then I'm doing okay.
Deep inside the canyon, Jeremy hits a series of sharp drops, and for the first time realizes that he is completely lost.
I'm going the wrong way. There were definitely points that made me strongly question that I was not in the right place.
Maybe I veered off.
Jeremy's exhaustion is adding to his confusion. Instead of listening to his instincts, he plows on, getting further and further from the canyon's only exit.
Something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. But I hadn't seen my side canyon.
And the terrain is getting worse and worse. In daylight, this climb would be a challenge. In the dark, it's practically suicidal.
Patricia Harris. April 5th, 2000. Mackenzie Susan Harris. Mackenzie Susan Harris. May 1st, 1995. Skylar Christopher Harris. December 3rd. Patricia Harris.
I got stuck. And all of a sudden I realized that one of my worst fears is happening, that I might be starting to lose grip on the situation. And that really scared me. And so as painful as it was, I pretty much forced myself to stand up and endure some pain to try and get my system in check. Pain would just shot right up in through my nerves, right up into my knee. It was terrible, but it woke me up.
The way I'm going, that's the way.
The state of mind that I was in was really insane.
How do you know that?
Really emotional.
Don't.
I didn't feel like I was talking to God.
You sure this is the right way?
But I had to talk to somebody.
I'm going the wrong way.
You know, have moments consumed by negative thoughts. What if Justin hasn't made it? You know, why is he sitting there and not me?
I'm out there, and it seems like it's been forever since Jeremy's left. And ever so subtly, I start to see changes in the light. And high above me, it looks maybe a little bit differently. And unless I'm hallucinating at this point, unless I'm starting to see things, I've probably made it through the night. And it was almost like a new awakening. It was a new day, and I was never so glad to see the sun come up.
Jeremy has somehow survived the series of perilous climbs. But tragically, he still hasn't realized he's been going in the wrong direction for almost half the night.
And I came to another area that was a choke in the canyon and walked up on top of it, and it was about 60 feet to the bottom. I didn't have a rope or a harness, and my thought was, jump in.
Good idea.
I was going to jump off the top of this into this pool.
Jeremy is so exhausted that it's affecting his judgment. There is no chance that he will survive this jump.
Jump in, jump in, jump in. Yeah.
And I picked up this rock and threw it off. I remember watching that rock fall through the air and hit the pool. I instantly, my mind switched. I was like, no, what are you thinking? That's impossible. That's ridiculous.
I don't know how much more this I can take.
Immediately, my thoughts reversed, and my plan changed to go back to Justin.
It's a dead end. All that Jeremy wants to do now is get back to his brother. Ironically, for the first time in almost 12 hours, he's going the right way.
And then I realized what it was going to take to get back there.
He's got to climb back up the cliffs that last night he risked his life scrambling down.
It was literally having to do the impossible.
For Justin, daylight brings a new sense of hope that rescue is on its way.
I could see the sunlight on the cliffs above me changing, and it's getting closer to me. And it's warming up a little bit. For the first time since I had been out there, it was almost bearable. And I'm sitting there, you know, going through the hours and the calculations in my mind, and I'm feeling really good about where I'm at, and I'm feeling great about where Jeremy's at. I'm thinking in my mind that he's probably back to camp, and he's got help coming, and I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna have one heck of a story to tell. And hopefully my wife won't kill me when I get home. And I'm laying there, and I'm just about as relaxed as I've been the whole time. And then the sun goes away.
Jeremy has now been climbing through the canyon for over 24 hours. He's exhausted, but driven on by a single thought: to get back to his brother.
Climbing up and taking so much energy, getting part of the way or most of the way up. I had never felt so drained. It was extremely hard to climb. Some of the hardest things that I've ever had to climb up in my life.
I'm thinking that by now I should have seen somebody. I had to accept the fact that as positive as I was about the situation and as hopeful as I was about my situation, that it wasn't looking really good for Jeremy. And now it wasn't looking really good for me.
Looking back on it, climbing up these pour-offs, what I remember of it, maybe faced with knowing that it was impossible, I was able to find strength inside me somewhere and abilities that I didn't believe I had or existed. It's strange to think about, and I truly don't know how, but I made it.
Jeremy? Jeremy!
I'm thinking about my brother out there somewhere, and I'm picturing him frozen somewhere because it's too cold and he just can't make it. And I'm starting to lose hope. And I started to think that maybe he was dead.
But as Justin struggles with his fears, miles down the canyon, Jeremy is suddenly confronted by his terrible mistake. He stumbles across the side canyon exit. Disoriented by the darkness, he simply missed it the night before.
It was so obvious. I can't conceive how I would have missed it, other than just the state of mind that I was in. I definitely should have seen it.
Finally, Jeremy has a chance of escaping from the canyon and getting help for his brother.
No.
The brothers' camp should be 20 minutes from the side canyon exit, but after 2 hours of searching, he still can't find it.
I really wasn't sure where camp was at. My tent has a yellow rain fly over it, a bright yellow rain fly, and Justin's car is red. And off in the distance, I saw red and yellow, and I saw it as clear as day. And literally dropped to my knees and was so thankful that I was back. And I'm on my knees and I look up and it wasn't there. I wasn't seeing what I thought I saw. It was kind of just the roller coaster ride continuing.
Jeremy may be out of the main canyon, but he cannot find the trail back to his camp, and in just 2 hours the sun will set. At the bottom of the canyon, Justin's battle for survival has become one of sheer will and faith in his brother.
I knew he would do everything that he possibly could to get out of that canyon and to get help in for me. I knew he wouldn't give up, no matter what.
It's really hard to convey to someone how exhausted I was. I'd gone so far beyond what I had imagined my limits were. I wasn't sure whether I should believe that it was really there or not. approached it, and it really was. I hadn't really even thought about my own physical condition. I was a wreck, and kind of amazed at the fact that I was even alive.
It should have taken Jeremy just 5 hours to reach their camp. Getting lost means it's taken over 26.
I open the car and grab his cell phone, and it's dead. Plug it into the car lighter to get some power and waited a minute.
After the superhuman effort that Jeremy has made to escape the canyon, he faces a final cruel twist of fate.
I couldn't get any service. I remember holding the phone up over the top of the car and couldn't get a signal.
As Jeremy tries to get through to help, Justin is struggling just to get from 1 hour to the next.
All you want to do is lay down and just go to sleep for a little while. And I thought about just how easy that would be. And I'm hoping that I can go through another hour. I can get through 2 hours, and then you get through that hour, and time passes.
Justin is beginning to realize that he faces another night in the canyon, a night he does not expect to survive. As the sun rises after a second night exposed to sub-zero temperatures, and with no idea if his brother is alive or dead, Justin knows he cannot survive much longer.
Hello? Hello? Oh! Hey.
And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a face pop around this boulder. And I think we were probably both pretty surprised to see each other.
Justin, we see you. He's right over there. Base, we found him.
And it was like, you know, they're here. They made it. They made it down. It was wonderful.
So how are you feeling?
When I first got to Justin, just looking at him, I thought, boy, he's doing pretty good.
Well, aside from the shivering, I think I'm okay.
Shivering, it means that he is maintaining his core temperature on his own, so that was a good sign to me.
My brother Jeremy, where's he?
He needed some medical attention.
Why, what happened?
No, he just got into a little disagreement with the canyon over who was tougher. But he's gonna be okay.
I was overcome with emotion. For the first time, I knew that you know, he was out for sure, and I'm getting out of here now.
Right. Let's take a look at that leg.
I cut up his pant leg just enough to expose the injury where his leg was, and it just totally took me by surprise. As soon as I saw his leg, I knew that we had a very serious situation.
Although Justin seems okay, toxins and poisons have built up in his shattered leg to such a degree that moving him risks releasing them into his system.
When your blood doesn't circulate down through your body continuously, acids build up in your body, and if they are rapidly released back into the system, they'll go to your heart and it'll kill you. I really thought at that time, he has a really high potential of losing his leg, but even more so of losing his life.
How bad is it?
I'm gonna get you some morphine before we move you.
At that point, I knew that it really was bad.
I need to get my patient out of here right now.
And I was probably a lot worse off than I thought I was.
Yeah, thanks.
And that was kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Good to go.
I'm laying flat on my back, and you know, for the first time, I'm getting a pretty good view of the canyon that we came down to see, and so I'm kind of looking around, and it's a nice canyon. When we finally got up over the lip of the canyon wall, all I could see was a bunch of faces that I didn't know, and they were all looking at me and smiling.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. You do great. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Justin, would you like to speak to your wife?
I says, yeah, I want to talk to her.
Trish?
And Trisha says, hey, are you okay? And I says, yeah, I'm alive. I love you, and I'm alive.
Jeremy and Justin are finally reunited in hospital in Salt Lake City.
And I remember thinking, he's just gonna go into surgery and they're gonna fix his leg. And he's gonna be just fine, and that's far from the truth.
Justin spent 90 days in the hospital and endured 13 operations. Despite all their efforts, the doctors were unable to save his leg.
It was too much to bear. I still felt so guilty.
Jeremy and I lived through something that we shouldn't have, and the experience of going through that with someone is powerful.
I think just being born of the same mother doesn't make you brothers, and the term brother is a very sacred term to me, and Justin's definitely my brother.
Neither Justin nor Jeremy has ever gone canyoneering again. But their bond as brothers is closer than ever since they survived that terrible weekend. When two former college lovers set off on a trip of a lifetime, they have no idea they'll end up fighting for their lives.
Dave!
Lost in the rainforest without food or water.
Snake.
They're easy prey to predators.
There's something out there.
With no hope of rescue,
Think we should just slash our wrists?
they decide to take their own lives.
We were gonna die out there, and having control over when we die is all that we had.
The Amazon rainforest in Brazil, It's one of the last great wilderness areas, home to the largest variety of insects, birds, and mammals in the world. For Dave Boyer and Crystal Ramsey, it's the trip of a lifetime.
Can you believe it? We're actually here in the Amazon.
Hey, you know when I make a promise, I keep it.
It's the realization of a dream they shared 2 years ago when they were a couple.
Crystal and I dated for about 3 years, and really were the closest you could possibly be. One day we were talking about our passions, and I asked her the question, if you could go any one place in the world, where would that be?
And the Amazon was #1 for both of us.
Dave and Crystal aren't together anymore, but they are still close friends.
There was no one I would have rather gone with than him.
Dave knows that Crystal has had a long-standing struggle with depression.
In school, where I met Dave, I had a very bad time with depression.
Dave thinks this trip will be good for her, but he's also nursing a secret hope that it might just reignite their romance.
She was the love of my life. I still envisioned spending the rest of my life with her.
They've traveled almost 200 miles south from the Brazilian city of Manaus to one of the Amazon's remotest backwaters. They plan to spend 2 months exploring the region. Their base, a small lodge in the heart of the rainforest. Around it is a network of clearly marked forest trails. Dave and Crystal spend their first 2 days checking out the shorter ones. Then they decide they're ready to take on the longest. It's known as the White Trail, and it stretches 3 miles deep into virgin rainforest. Dave and Crystal set off in the morning with enough water for a 3-hour hike.
We left just before 10 o'clock and expected to be back in time for a late lunch.
They've spent 2 years reading up on the rainforest, but nothing prepares them for the real thing.
As soon as we went in, we started to see more than we had ever seen before, such as bats and different kind of bugs than we had ever seen, and it was a fantastic morning. I was really excited. Dave, look.
We had tunnel vision. We were focused on one thing, and I was exploring and seeing the rainforest. We were oblivious to any dangers that were involved.
They are so absorbed by the sights and sounds of the forest, they don't notice that they've stepped off the marked trail.
Our awareness was elsewhere. It was on the trees, on the animals, on the sounds.
They are now following paths made by animals.
As we got further along, the jungle seemed to creep in on each side. We now had to walk in a single file line.
Then the path completely disappears. For the first time, they realize they're no longer on the trail.
That's when I didn't know what to do. I was really worried.
Let's see the map.
I think I forgot the map at the lodge. I had left the map sitting on the dresser in our cabin.
Dave.
Look, I can remember it. I can.
The map Dave left behind was a hand-drawn sketch of the area. He clearly remembers it showing the lodge at the bottom, which would normally indicate that it lies to their south. But the map isn't laid out in the usual way. To get back to the lodge, they actually need to head north.
If we head south, that should take us back.
You're sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay.
Come on, let's go.
Hiking south is the worst decision Dave could make. Ahead, there lies nothing but thousands of miles of rainforest. Uninhabited, except for rainforest creatures, many of them highly dangerous. 2 hours later, they're getting worried.
This way.
We had been walking far longer than we should have been. We should have been back by then.
There's not much daylight left. It will soon be nightfall.
I'm not going to stay out in the forest. I can't let this happen. We have to find our way back before it gets dark.
I knew that once it got dark, we weren't going to be able to continue.
As darkness descends, any chance of finding the lodge today disappears.
That's really the first time we started to have some panic.
What time is it?
It's almost 6.
We should be back by now. If we'd been walking in the right direction for this long, we would have...
I know.
I don't think he wanted to deal with it. He didn't want to deal with even having to think about sleeping out there.
I was frustrated at myself. I felt responsible for getting us lost and felt responsible for finding the way back.
Crystal, you know what I'm thinking?
We're gonna have to spend the night here.
Yeah.
We just picked a spot to stay, a cleared area, and we just sat down to wait out the night.
Chris, I am so sorry about this.
It's okay. You buy me a beer when we get back, and we'll call it even. Okay?
Okay.
But they both know how vulnerable they really are. The rainforest is teeming with nocturnal predators.
A lot of the poisonous snakes, they wander through the forest at night. The jaguar comes out at night. You don't have a lot of choices of protection.
Dave and Crystal share a single thought. Can they make it through the night alive?
Chris, there's something out there.
The Amazon at night is a terrifying place to be. Dave and Crystal are totally defenseless, with no way to protect themselves from predators.
"49 bottles of beer on the wall."
We weren't going to try to sleep at all. We were going to stay up, and that way if something stumbled upon us, we would be ready.
49 bottles of beer. Take one.
Jeez, did you hear that? Chris, there's something out there.
Do you think it could be a jaguar?
The Amazonian jaguar stalks its prey under the cover of darkness. It can kill with a single crushing bite to the head. Whatever it was, Dave has scared it off for now. They spend a sleepless night, alert to every tiny sound. Dave and Crystal have survived the night unscathed, almost.
I'm covered in mosquito bites.
Be grateful that's all that bit you.
Very funny.
So, what's the plan?
Well,
Dave needs to get them back to the lodge fast. Crystal's on medication for her depression, and he knows she doesn't have her drugs with her.
She had never missed a day on that medication.
This trail heads south, so it should take us right back to the lodge.
Okay. So we'll be back for breakfast.
Yeah. Let's get moving.
I truly believed that we were close and we were heading in the right direction. We just had run out of time the night before. It was going to be a breeze.
But with every step, they continue to move further away from the safety of the lodge. Four hours later, the temperature in the forest has soared. The heat and the way they're pushing themselves mean that Dave and Crystal are sweating out almost 4 pints of fluid an hour.
We were starting to get depressed about our situation. We were starting to get frustrated. The temperature was rising really fast. It was getting up to 95 degrees. We were sweating profusely.
Let's take a break.
Dave, I'm out of water.
When I realized that we were out of water and it was hot and it was 10 o'clock, I really started to realize things weren't just going to be okay.
We knew that we were losing water so quickly and things were not going to function right. Our brain was going to start to trick us and our body was going to give out eventually.
There's got to be something around here.
The irony is that the Amazon basin is one of the wettest places on Earth. Over 9 inches of rain can fall in a single month, leaving puddles of water everywhere. But they face an agonizing dilemma.
I didn't know what to do. Should we drink water and possibly get very sick, or risk getting very sick from dehydration?
I have an idea. Give me that.
My plan was to use my sports bra as a filter.
Okay. Now I want you to pour that through the top here.
Crystal's bra could actually filter out a number of nasty parasites. But it won't get rid of smaller microorganisms that could make them dangerously ill.
Okay. Bottoms up.
I don't know about this.
We don't have a choice.
Well, cheers.
I took a small sip and kind of let it sit in my mouth for a second to taste it.
Tastes okay. Kind of chalky.
We were both worried about drinking water, but in the end, when it's 95 degrees and you're sweating like that, it's going to be more painful not to drink it.
Rehydrated, Dave and Crystal pick up the pace. But they must stay constantly on guard. The forest is alive with creatures that could kill them with a single bite.
We're consistently listening to sounds and trying to figure out what was in the forest around us. I didn't want to touch a branch that we didn't know what was on that branch. We wanted to watch our steps.
Whoa.
What is it?
A snake. Let's go another way.
They're lucky. A few more steps and they could have trodden on the snake. The Amazon basin is home to some of the most poisonous snakes in the world. One bite could mean a slow and agonizing death. By mid-afternoon, Dave is resorting to a new desperate tactic in his search for the lodge.
I was trying to keep us in the same area of where we got lost in, kind of zigzagging back and forth, hoping to stumble upon the trail.
Let's try over there.
Crystal was starting to get a little bit frustrated with that strategy.
Dave was literally almost walking in circles and didn't realize that that's what he was doing.
Crystal is starting to feel the pressure.
My brain was saying, things are going downhill.
Now, which way are we going?
East.
East. 20 minutes ago, we were going south.
Yeah, well, we've got to try all directions. Maybe we should head north now.
Dave, this is crazy. I can't stand to listen to you talk about directions you know nothing about. You don't know where we're going, and all we're doing is walking around in circles.
Dave had kept coming up with a different strategy every few hours whenever one didn't work. And that wasn't working for me.
We need to rethink this.
All right, then. Well, what do you think?
I thought we needed to come up with a strategy and continue using it until the end.
That way.
Okay.
What neither of them realize is the only direction that can help them is north.
We chose southeast. We will walk in this one direction for as long as it takes. If it takes us 40 days to get out of here, we're gonna walk southeast.
Hours later, and the jungle is just getting denser.
We were getting down. We were getting scared and worried.
Everything just looks the same.
The jungle is so dense and so thick, you can't see more than a few yards in any direction at any one time.
Dave has an idea. If he can get up high, he might just be able to see the lodge.
The knots in the vine were ripping at my hands, and it was hurting me. My arms were tired. I was exhausted. And I looked up and I saw that I had not made any progress. It was still 150 feet up to the top.
He is weak from 2 days without sleep or food.
Are you okay? Did you see anything?
Yeah. Rainforest.
Why is no one looking for us?
In fact, people are looking for them. But the search is focused around the White Trail. And that's now a very distant and dense 7 miles away. As darkness falls, they realize they must endure another night.
I was tired. I had not slept on the previous night. I was being driven insane by the mosquitoes. They were constantly biting me, making our bodies itch, and we would scratch it to the point where our bodies would start bleeding.
The next day, they're still heading in the wrong direction, getting even further away from the area where rescuers are searching for them. And now they start to notice an ominous change in the behavior of the wildlife.
If we were anywhere near civilization, these monkeys would be running away from us. They would be fearful of us, that we would hunt them. But these maybe had never seen a human before in their life and were just curious. And that was terrifying, that we were getting deeper and deeper.
is it?
I don't know.
Jaguar?
No, there's more than one.
They've stumbled on a pack of wild Amazonian pigs. Dave knows how ferocious they can be.
The locals have said that they're really the most dangerous thing to encounter in the forest, other than a snake. They're aggressive. If wild boars got a hold of you, it'd probably knock you to the ground quickly, and then you would have several animals on top of you biting and really just eating and going to work. The way to avoid any confrontation is to let them know that you are different, that you are not something that's in their normal habitat.
Their encounter with the pigs leaves them jumpy and exhausted. Crystal's feet are badly blistered, and she's been without her antidepressants for 3 days now. Her depression could return at any time.
I can't go on much further, Dave. I'm tired. And my foot.
We'll get out of this ravine and we can make camp.
I thought that it would be nice, it might even be comforting if we had some type of shelter. So we came up with the idea of making a teepee.
Excellent.
Yeah. It was drawing us closer together. She told me that if I was as I was while we were lost, if we had always had that relationship in that past year, that we would still be together, that she saw all the things that she had fallen in love with in the first place.
It looks good.
We were trying to get our minds off of what we were going through, and we got even closer.
My feelings had not changed since the day I met her. I was still in love with her. I still wanted her to be in my life and with me forever.
Night falls, and with it comes the nocturnal predator their shelter can't protect them from. Mosquitoes. Thousands of them.
The worst of it was the sounds. It's just this loud buzzing throughout the night, and you feel like they're everywhere. They would give me mosquito bites on my eyelids if I had my eyes closed, or on my forehead that were just driving me insane. Sleep was increasingly becoming more and more of an issue, and I knew that eventually I'm going to have sleep. I can't go multiple days without sleep. It's going to drive me insane.
In a bid to escape the mosquito onslaught, they come up with a bizarre plan.
Crystal said, well, we should cover our bodies in mud. That would work well at keeping the mosquitoes off of us. We got inside the hole and pushed the mud in on top of each other, covered our faces, and we laid there in the mud and tried to be as still as possible. It actually felt pretty comforting laying there, and I felt like I was completely covered. I felt like I was going to be safe from the mosquitoes. I thought it was going to be a great night.
But Dave couldn't be more wrong. A massive tropical thunderstorm is building in the skies above them, and it's about to put them in the greatest danger yet.
Within a few minutes, we were forced out of our hole. We would have drowned there.
They've never experienced anything like it.
very hard to explain how loud it can get. You can't even talk to someone who's right next to you by screaming. That's the only way I can describe how loud it was.
They are soaked within seconds.
It was the coldest I had ever been. Couldn't stop. My body was just going into convulsions and shaking. And my teeth were chattering.
Any hope of sleep is gone. Then, just when they think things couldn't get any worse, lightning brings down a huge tree dangerously close to them.
If it had landed on us, we surely would have died in that.
The storm has shaken Crystal to the core.
There's never been a worse night in my life than that night.
Their terrible night leaves both of them exhausted and miserable. But it's pushed Crystal close to the edge.
For Crystal, that night was really a turning point for her, and she had gone from being whatever happens, happens, we're gonna get through this challenge, to being really fearful of this being the end of her life and dying out there.
How you doing? We got through it, didn't we?
Yeah. For what?
To get home, Chris. Get home,
I just kept thinking about that hellish night.
I'm not sure I want to.
And that I truly would rather die than go through it again.
What are you talking about? You think we should just slash our wrists right here?
I didn't think what the implications of that were. I didn't think it was a real suggestion. It was just kind of something that I did off the top of my head.
That sparked an interest in me that suicide was a possibility and it was a way out.
Dave realizes that if they don't find a way out soon, Crystal's suicidal thoughts could become a reality.
Chris.
Her brain was going through some nasty stuff, and she was feeling the effects of that physically and emotionally. I knew that as the days go on and her withdrawal from her medication gets worse and worse, that it's going to become very difficult to keep her going and to keep that survival instinct inside her.
I was so overwhelmed and so frustrated and so confused that I felt crazy. I felt like I was gonna lose it.
Dave, where's the knife?
It's here.
I want to see it.
Chris, you're really freaking me out with this.
I want to see it.
The knife really became almost a game that I never would let her hold. She would frequently ask me, "Where is the knife? Can I just see it? I want to know that you haven't lost it."
I think my own mind was more dangerous than anything that the jungle had.
All I had was a companion, and she was what kept me going. I needed her as much as she needed me to make it through this, and I could not drag her the entire time. And that made me quite pessimistic for the outcome.
Then, after days of hearing nothing but the sounds of the rainforest.
Do you hear that?
What? Come on. Come on! Sounds like a boat! Come on!
I was saying, "Come on, Crystal, this is it. We're rescued."
Hey, we're over here!
There's a boat really close. I can hear it.
We're over here!
This is over, like, just so happy cheering to each other.
Do you hear anything?
Then it was nothing.
After 3 nights without sleep, Dave senses are starting to play tricks on him.
The sound in the jungle can't be trusted.
We thought that we were rescued. To have that taken away from us and our hopes just ripped from our hearts, it just killed us.
24 hours later, Dave and Crystal's situation is bleaker than ever. They are still hopelessly lost. And as their 5th night approaches, it's Dave who's struggling. Drained by lack of sleep and the effort of keeping Crystal going, he desperately needs rest.
Dave was exhausted. I was very worried about him, but there was nothing I could do to make him sleep.
Damn it.
There was no way I could help him.
As Crystal sleeps, Dave is once again tormented by mosquitoes.
I could not get a grip. I could not get control of what I really needed, and that was to get to sleep.
In his totally exhausted state, the insects soon become an obsession.
The only way to get me through that night was to find a way to keep moving, keep myself occupied. I would go through this pattern of swatting the mosquitoes on my arm, swatting them on my back and my neck, and I'd start counting these cycles. I became obsessed with time.
Sleep deprivation is taking its toll. Dave is beginning to lose his grip on reality.
I felt like I had lost this battle between me and the mosquitoes, between me and the night, between me and any sleep that I might get.
For the first time, Dave thinks they might not make it out of the Amazon alive.
A horsefly came and bit me. I reached down and picked up the horsefly. I started to pull off each of its legs. I was just fascinated by it. And it kind of led me to look over at Crystal and imagine our bodies laying there dead, and all the things that would come, take our bodies apart, eat from our flesh and drink from our blood. If we were going to die out there, I wanted to have some record of what we went through. So as Crystal was laying there in the sand, I wrote in the sand next to her, 6 Day Lost. I wanted to document it as well as I could, so I'd snapped that picture, hoping that one day somebody would find our bones and our camera. And and see that we had been there on the 6th day. That's when I started to think personally about my life. I did not have a close relationship with my family. I had never told my mother that I loved her. I had never told my family how much they meant to me. It was killing me, and I wasn't going to have that opportunity if I died out there.
That thought gives Dave the resolve he needs to keep going.
Wake up, it's time.
I don't want to leave. I don't want to move.
I don't either, but we have to.
My feet were deteriorating unbelievably. And the pain was unbearable. It felt like 10 wasps were biting me at the same time.
If we stay here, we die. It's as simple as that.
Crystal finds the strength to give it one more try.
Stand on it. It's my girl.
They push on. Now the terrain gets harder.
Come on, Chris.
And as Crystal's feet become unbearably painful, her depression begins to get the better of her.
I couldn't walk anymore. I would try, and I would fall down. I felt like that was telling me it was time to just end it myself.
I don't want to go.
Crystal's depression is back. Now she can see only one way out of the nightmare.
You can! Come on!
I decided this is it.
I can't keep going!
Give me the knife.
She really meant taking her life into her own hands. I'm gonna slash my wrists and take my life and put an end to this misery. This was the woman I was in love with. This was the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I had no thoughts of ever abandoning her.
I'll make you a deal, okay? I'll make you a deal.
I told her, you don't want to go through another night, I know that, and if it gets to be tonight and we have not made our way out, I will give you the knife.
You gotta give me everything you got today.
Crystal accepts Dave's deal.
Everything you got today.
If they aren't out of the forest by dusk, they will both kill themselves.
We'll do it together.
I put a specific time frame on the rest of our life. We were either going to get out and live the rest of our life really happily, or that was going to be the end.
Crystal can now see an end to her ordeal.
Sit down. Sit down here. On here. Come on.
She was like, what time is it? Is it nighttime? Is it getting close enough?
Come on!
But Crystal can't keep going.
Come on!
She decides she can't wait until nightfall. She wants them to end their lives now.
It's time.
When I said it, he agreed. And he said, okay, now we can do it.
We were going to have to go through with this.
Dave's resigned to dying, but there's a bizarre thought he can't get out of his head.
I wanted to wash the mud that was on my arms. I wanted to wash my face and have a clean body, a clean approach. If I was going to face a judgment, I needed to do it with a clean spirit as well as a clean body.
He begins to search for water to wash himself.
As we fought through some of the underbrush, when we got down there, there wasn't a creek, there wasn't a puddle. There was a flooded forest. Everywhere that we could see, there was water.
It's a glimmer of hope, just enough to keep them going.
This water's gotta lead somewhere.
In the Amazon, rivers are like roads. If this water leads to a river, they might just spot a boat. They put aside thoughts of suicide.
I got this surge of energy and some anger that made me want to fight through the water even more.
As we were going through the flooded forest, we kept telling each other, don't talk about any hopes. Just go, and go as fast as you can.
Dave, look!
I thought to myself, I've got to be hallucinating.
I said, David, am I really seeing that? You know, is that really real? And he said it was.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
Hey! He didn't wave back at us. It seemed like he was miles away. We immediately just started screaming, help, 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 help me, please.
Here!
We're here! Help!
And he didn't respond.
Help!
We learned in one split second that we were going to live. I was screaming and crying and just definitely the best moment I've ever had in my life. The sun's setting, the whole sky is bright pink. And Dave and I are just looking at each other, and the tears are just running down both of our faces.
And inexplainable joy, and we just looked at each other and looked up at the sky, essentially, and we're just so thankful to be alive.
Dave and Crystal are incredibly lucky. Their rescuer chanced on them in a waterway that local boats hardly ever use. They find out later that search parties spent 4 days looking for them. But they never even came close to the remote spot where Dave and Crystal ended up.
When we got out, we talked about, you know, all the times that we had in the jungle and how we talked about getting married, but when we were finally saved and getting better, we realized that that isn't the thing that we're going to do at this time.
In the forest, we kind of had said, if we get out of this, we're going to live the rest of our lives together. And when the reality of being out was there, she did not feel that way. That was not what she wanted. And that was a bit of a disappointment to me. And that continued to be a disappointment for quite some time.
Dave and Crystal have both since returned to the Amazon. They never did restart their relationship, but after their 6-day death-defying ordeal, they became closer friends than ever. In the heart of the Alaskan wilderness, a father and son set out on the trip of a lifetime. Then, disaster strikes.
Watch out, Flint! Hold on!
Swept under an ice shelf, they fight for their lives in freezing water.
Dad, you're gonna swim!
They've lost everything and are at the mercy of prowling predators. The son faces a terrible dilemma: stay with his father and wait for a rescue that may never come, or leave him and risk hiking out through 60 miles of dangerous terrain for help. A specially chartered plane has dropped Blake Stanfield and his father Neil in a remote Alaskan wilderness 60 miles from the nearest settlement.
How's the raft coming? We're almost there. Good. Get the coffee on.
Neil runs a building management firm, and Blake is a doctor. They'd taken leave to spend some time together.
My father and I started backpacking when I was a young boy. Always ended up loving that. He taught me to appreciate the outdoors.
Isn't it beautiful, Dad?
Well, a long way from Oklahoma City.
Blake and I are good friends. We talk every day and share our experiences. He's always been a good kid.
Blake's organized the rafting trip as a gift to his dad to celebrate a very special occasion.
For my father's 65th birthday, I had planned this rafting trip to the gates of the Arctic as a present to him.
Although Neil's been looking forward to this, he knows it's going to be tough.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah?
Can I over here?
Sure.
He'd really wanted Blake to book them on an organized group trip, but Blake had other ideas.
Blake is very independently minded and decided that, oh no, we don't want to do that. We want to be able to do whatever we want to do.
Since he knew I'd made up my mind, there wasn't much he was going to say that could make me change my mind.
Okay, Dad?
Yeah. It would have been kind of nice to watch someone else do the hauling and shoving.
Come on, Dad. You want to share this with 10 strangers and a tour guide?
Matter of fact, yeah.
I had never wanted to, and still never want to go on a guided tour.
Let's load her up.
It was, an experience that I wanted to have with my father, just the two of us.
Better get going, Dad.
Just checking everything's shipshape. Where in the world did I put that lighter?
I got it.
Very repellent. Extra strength, very repellent.
Almost anywhere in Alaska, you're going to run into many different types of wildlife, which includes bear, and of course that's something that you always need to be prepared for.
The gates of the Arctic National Park is spectacular but dangerous. It's home to hundreds of black bears and grizzlies, not to mention roaming packs of wolves. It's 13,000 square miles of near untouched wilderness. Father and son have no way of contacting the outside world. They've packed no radio or mobile phone. Blake's itinerary has them traveling south by raft down the Koyukuk River to the town of Bettles. It should take around 6 days.
Let's go!
It was about a 90-mile float that we had planned, just camping and doing little short day hikes. We were just gonna have fun.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Thanks, son. A wonderful, wonderful birthday present.
Well, most of our conversation was just how amazed we were with the beauty that we were surrounded by and how remote it was and how quiet it was.
Blake and Neil have deliberately avoided the crowds by arriving in early June. It's 2 weeks before the start of the rafting season, so the men have the Koyukuk River all to themselves.
Quite exciting, isn't it? I'm glad I came.
We commented on the way down the river that wasn't it great to be the only ones on the river, the first ones on the river that year, and there was a reason, as it turned out.
They'd been rafting for just a couple of hours when they noticed that the river is changing.
Blake, ice. Oh yeah, thought it would all be melted by now. Yeah, me too.
For 6 months of the year, the rivers are choked with ice. During the summer, it all melts. But this early in the season, some patches have yet to thaw.
The longer we floated, the more ice we actually started to encounter.
It doesn't look like it's going to let up. Do you think we ought to stop this thing?
The current's picking up speed, and Blake struggles to control the raft.
I kept trying to look around the corner, hoping to find, which way we were going to be going. And that's when I realized that actually we didn't have a choice where we were going.
The men are at the mercy of the current.
We're going to have to pull in and stop this. I'm trying, Dad. I can't slow it down, though. We're going too fast. Let's slow it down, Dad.
It was sheer panic at the time, and it happened so quickly there wasn't much time at all to think. The next thing I actually remember was being pulled right underneath the ice.
There was so little time to realize what had happened, except that it was a real problem.
It wasn't long before we came up in essentially an air chamber underneath the ice.
The air pocket saves their lives, but the ice shelf could stretch on for miles.
I remember looking over at my father, yelling at him.
Blake yelled.
Dad, I'm sorry.
Of course, it wasn't his fault.
Give my hand.
Blake manages to grab Neil's hand, but the current's too strong. His dad is swept away beneath the ice. The men are spat out from under the ice shelf, but their ordeal isn't over yet.
We were being carried rapidly toward the second ice shelf, I saw it coming. I reached up and grabbed it to try to prevent from going under it. Of course, the river was such that I was carried underneath.
The roof of this ice shelf is even lower than the last.
And the second ice shelf had no room to breathe.
I really thought I had taken my last breath. My father and I both ended up with a lot of abrasions to the top of our heads because we kept trying to come up to the air that we were hoping was there. I've never thought of a worse way of dying than drowning, and was certainly thinking that that is how I was going to die. After being under that water for what seemed like an eternity, I just remember popping out, taking in a nice big breath of air. At this time, I had no idea where my father was. He had been pushed up against something and trapped.
Dad!
I don't know how I would have been able to face my mother and the rest of my family, letting them know that my father had perished, you know, when I had made it. And the next thing I remember seeing was his head above the water.
The powerful current is sweeping Neil away.
It didn't appear like he was making any attempt to get out of the river, and for all I knew, he was injured and couldn't.
Neil's disorientated, but somehow he catches hold of a rock and hauls himself out. Blake knows that his dad has got to get to shore fast before he's paralyzed by cold and shock.
And Blake, in the meantime, is yelling at me, and I can't hear him above the roar of the river. So eventually I managed to get my breath long enough to tell him to shut up.
Will you let me think for a minute?
Blake was telling me that I had to swim over to him, which was the last thing in the world I wanted to do.
Dad! Come get!
Getting back in the river is dangerous. But Blake knows it's his dad's only chance.
Come on, Dad! You can do it! You can do it, Dad! Dad!
Oh my God, you're freezing. Dad, come here. I'm so sorry, Dad.
It's okay. It's okay. It was just bad luck. Bad luck.
As a doctor, Blake knows that his dad's in the first stages of hypothermia.
I thought you were gone.
The second I got him out, I realized he was shaking uncontrollably. It was mild seizure-like.
We gotta warm you up, Dad. We gotta warm you up.
Blake's desperate. All their spare clothes were lost in the accident. Then he remembers something. The lighter he stowed in his life jacket. It didn't get washed away, but it's soaking wet.
When I pulled that lighter out of my pocket and hit the button, that torch lit up, and maybe we were going to be able to have a fire. I knew that we had to get a fire started. We had to get him out of those cold, wet clothes.
We gotta get you dry. It's okay, Dad. You're gonna be okay.
Neil's wet clothes are making his temperature fall even faster.
Basically, while this fire got started, I hugged him and tried to give him some of the warmth that I had. Eventually got him to where he wasn't shaking anymore.
Blake had in his life vest a picture of his wife and son, and been so worried about ever seeing them again. And we were both somewhat crying.
It's okay, look, it's gonna be all right. I'll be back home.
But Blake knows their prospects are bleak. They're stranded in a remote wilderness and nobody expects them back for at least a week. Their raft is lost, along with all their food and gear. Worse still, the reserve is teeming with hundreds of wolves and bears.
I think at that point we realized that we got some big problems.
Getting colder now, the sun's going down. You think we ought to find a more sheltered spot?
Yeah. You okay to move?
Guess I'll have to be. What are you doing?
Show people where we're going.
Pity there'll be no one to see it.
Come on now.
Blake and Neil set off to look for shelter. Blake lost his boots in the accident, but his pace still leaves his father lagging behind.
I think that I wanted to move a lot faster than my father was able to move at the time.
The freezing water has drained Neil's strength. He's 65 years old and still feeling the effects of an accident 12 months ago that left him with a broken ankle.
Blake! Can we just hold up here a minute? You're not even trying to find a place to stop.
Oh, sorry, Dad. I just got carried away.
There's no way we're just walking out of here. We're gonna have to find a good campsite and stay put. How agreed?
All right.
Okay. Give me your hand.
Here we were in the middle of this vast wilderness, a good 60 miles from the nearest human being. No one was expected to be flown into the area for at least 2 weeks after our trip. We were alone, and we were going to have to endure or survive until either we found a way out of it or someone came looking for us.
It's the rainy season, so the men set about building a shelter to protect them. It's crucial they stay warm and dry. But that's just the start of their problems.
Hey, Blake! Come take a look at this!
What?
Tracks. What do you think?
Black bear?
Uh-uh. More like a grizzly to me. There's dozens of them around here.
Well, maybe they were just passing through. I'm gonna get that fire started.
They packed a shotgun, but that's at the bottom of the river. Now their only defense against prowling grizzlies is fire. Their ordeal has left Neil and Blake battered and bruised. Now they have to contend with the cold.
We got enough wood?
Yeah, we got lots. You get closer to the fire. I'm warm enough. There.
My father and I took turns laying towards the front of the shelter where the fire was.
Try and get some sleep, okay?
Yeah. And then whoever was laying in back would bear hug the person in front.
Sleeping won't be easy. It's summer and the sun barely dips below the horizon. But during the few hours of darkness, the temperature can still get close to freezing.
I shivered myself to sleep, you know, because I'm sure my clothes were still damp.
But Blake can't sleep. He knows it'll be at least a week before anyone realizes they're missing. If they stay put, their chances of survival are slim. The only alternative is a grueling 60-mile hike to the nearest town.
It was a long way to the nearest person. It was extremely rough terrain. We only had one set of shoes between the two of us. There were plenty of bears in the area. It was hard to take in the severity of the predicament that we were in.
During the night, Blake has made a tough decision.
Well, I needed to get back to Bettles. I needed to go find help.
The #1 rule of survival is stick together. But Blake knows his dad isn't up to the hike.
Dad? You okay?
Yeah. Pretty sore, though. You slept?
Not so much, no.
You know, I've been thinking. We gotta get ourselves organized. We gotta build up a nice big pile of firewood, maybe make some traps. We're gonna need some food.
I'm going for help, Dad.
Help? From where?
Blake had no doubt given it a lot of thought and decided that he could conquer this problem and hike back to Bettles.
Bettles is 60 miles away. This is just plain crazy. Look, we talked about this. First rule of survival, stick together.
Dad, I know all that. But no one else is going to be coming down the river for weeks. We can't wait that long.
You trying to get yourself killed? Have you even looked at the map? There's a darn great river in the way.
I'd ask him how in the world he was going to get over the Tingayuk River to our south, which appeared to be a pretty good-sized river, and he said, I don't know, I'll find a way.
Yeah? How? This isn't some little stream. This is an Alaskan river in full flow. Now, do you have any idea how powerful that is?
Yes, Dad. I was in one yesterday, remember? We're on our own, Dad. No one's coming.
I'm telling you not to go.
Leaving him alone was a hard decision, but I think he knew I was stubborn because I inherited that from him.
You're really going, aren't you?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm really going. Because if I don't, we're gonna die here, Dad.
You're gonna need the knife. And the lighter. Now, what about the bears? You saw all those tracks.
Well, you got the fire. That should keep them away.
I meant you, son. What about the bears?
I love you, Dad.
Yeah. Me too. Well, you know I do.
I'm gonna come back, Dad.
Now, don't get yourself killed, you hear?
I was emotional when he left. I felt alone and very concerned about being alone. But probably more worried about him and what he might encounter.
Ahead of Blake is a 60-mile hike south to the nearest town. In such a vast expanse, he can't afford to get lost. One wrong turn could spell disaster. Now Blake's made a gut-wrenching decision to leave his dad alone and hike out for help. He's heading south for the town of Bethel, 60 miles away. The biggest obstacle in his path is the Tinyaguk River. But first, he has to find it.
Because of the scale of this map, it was a little bit difficult telling exactly where we were. I didn't have any great landmarks.
The hiking is taking it out of Blake. The ground is rough and uneven, and he hasn't eaten for over 24 hours. But he's still making good progress. Just a few hours after leaving his father, he hits the river. His dad warned him that crossing it would be impossible. It's freezing cold and fast running. He could even be dragged under another ice shelf. But Blake promised to get help, and the only way he can do that is to plunge in.
As soon as I started to cross, the water was flowing fast enough that I realized I was just going to have to jump and swim over to the other side.
Blake has proved his dad wrong. With the river behind him, it should be a straightforward hike to Bethel's. Back at camp, 65-year-old Neil is hungry and tired. But he can't rest. Blake has their only lighter, so Neil's got to keep the fire alight. It's his only source of warmth and his sole defense against the bears.
The difficulty of keeping the fire going was essentially being able to walk with only stocking-foot waders on really rocky soil.
Neil hopes the fire will be enough to keep the bears and wolves at bay, but he also shouts to try to discourage an attack.
Anybody home? Come down and join me!
Despite his hardships, what really preys on his mind is what might be happening to his son.
I was very worried about Blake and what he might have run into.
Like his dad, Blake is trying to frighten predators away by singing aloud.
All night long, never got tired.
Most of my songs were moose tunes and bear tunes, which was really quite ironic.
I went out walking in the woods one night, all alone, pale moonlight. I hid myself in a tree up to see what I could.
Suddenly, Blake comes face to face with a grizzly bear.
grizzly can tear your head off with one bite. But their claws can rip holes through you like nobody's business, so you don't want to mess with them.
The bear is some way off, but even the slightest sound could alert it to Blake's presence.
I certainly sent the adrenaline through my body when I saw him.
Blake daren't make a sound. The bear's too close.
It was scary seeing him out there. He wasn't far enough away for my liking.
The bear hasn't spotted him, but grizzlies have a sense of smell 100 times more powerful than a human, and can pick up the scent of prey from more than 2 miles away. But Blake's in luck. He's downwind of the bear, and his scent is carried in the opposite direction. But the wind could change. He risks making a run for it. It's a lucky escape, but there's still a long way to go. Blake's making good ground. By his estimation, Bettles is just a day and a half's hike away. This is the Tinyaguk River, the one Blake thought he'd crossed earlier that day. But that was just a minor tributary. His father was right. The Tinyaguk is just too huge to cross. There's no way he can reach Bettles.
I kind of lost a lot of that optimism that I had as soon as I saw that there was no way to cross this thing, because it was so wide and so swiftly moving and so cold.
It's a dead end. Blake defied his father and the basic rules of survival by hiking off by himself. Alone, both men are at far greater risk.
I had a hard time deciding whether or not I should stay there, because I knew I wasn't that far from my father. I certainly had some feelings of guilt that I had put him in this predicament.
Now the mental and physical strain of the last 2 days finally catches up with him.
I realized I needed to rest. That was something my body was asking for at the time, because it had been a long, long sludge.
Blake hasn't eaten for 36 hours.
The only thing that I really saw were some spiders, and there were a few that I swatted and ate, just because I thought maybe I'll start to see more of these and have some nutrition. But the amount of nutrition I got from the few that I ate certainly didn't give me any energy, that's for sure. I was awakened by some raindrops that were hitting me on the face. I was worried about my father because, he would have gotten just as wet. He didn't have a lighter to restart a fire had his gone out.
In the rainy season, downpours can be intense. If the fire goes out, Neil risks bear attack and hypothermia.
The possibility of rain was a real problem. It would put out a fire, and there wasn't any way to keep a fire going. And that's what I had to try to do.
The rain clouds blow over. Now Neil faces his first night alone in a wilderness bristling with predators.
As everyone knows, you try to make noise in the wild with where bears are present. I said a lot of stupid things in order to make noise, and one of them was, "I'm the king of this valley. Everyone who lives here at my pleasure."
You want to see me, you have to go through my nights. Blake, where are you? I hope you're all right, Blake. I want to see you back here.
His only defense against bears and wolves is his fire.
And the difficulty of keeping the fire going was staying awake enough. I would wake up in the middle of the night and maybe have a problem and have to work to get her going again.
If the fire goes out, Neil is in big trouble. After a fitful night's sleep, Blake confronts the bleak reality of his situation.
I was distraught when I realized that there's pretty much no way to get to Bettles. I was a long way from what I'd hoped to be my final destination.
But he has one slim hope.
I kept thinking about the fact that these bush pilots fly up and down these rivers, so they might be flying directly overhead.
If he can make himself more visible, he might be spotted by one of these passing planes. Despite his weakened state, he starts to gather driftwood for a signal fire.
I actually set one of these log jams on fire, hoping that someone might see the smoke.
But even this simple plan fails.
Every time I looked up into the sky, the smoke wasn't very white and smoky like you always see in the TV shows. You know, it wasn't that noticeable.
It's Neil's third night alone in his brushwood shelter.
I guess a spark jumped from the fire. All of a sudden, there was a fire going on right above my head, and I'm talking like 18 inches above my head. So I had to get out of there fast.
He can only watch, helpless as his precious shelter burns to the ground.
I got out of there and watched as fire just burst into an inferno.
Neil knows he must save part of it to light a new fire. Without it, he'll be freezing cold and have no protection from prowling predators. During the night, meltwater has flooded the river. Blake realizes he could be in danger.
When I realized that the river was rising that quickly, I moved up into the forest because I was worried that I was actually going to end up on a small island out there and be trapped by water on all sides.
Upriver, Neil is exhausted and hungry. His precious shelter was destroyed in the fire, leaving him exposed to the risk of a freezing downpour. Now daybreak brings a new enemy, the blazing sun.
The sun was coming down pretty hard, and there was essentially no cover.
He needs to build a new shelter. But it's becoming harder and harder to carry out even simple tasks.
Ow!
There's only so much punishment a 65-year-old body can take. After 3 days without food, Neil is weakening. Blake's decision to hike for help has backfired. Now his actions could cost his father's life. Now Blake is gambling that staying by a major river will increase his chances of being spotted by local pilots. But since nobody knows they're missing, his chances of being rescued are slim.
I was definitely depressed about the situation that we were in, especially because I had so much time to think about it.
Blake endures another day and night helplessly waiting. His constant fear that his dad hasn't survived his ordeal. Blake's decision to hike out looks increasingly like a bad move.
Around 6 or 7 in the evening on Tuesday, I was laying over by my fire when I heard the sound of an airplane. And my God, he was coming up on me quick, I could tell. I ran as fast as I could.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
I realized that he spotted me. He'd spotted me.
Hey!
3 hours later, and there's still no sign of rescue.
Boy, after a while, I started thinking, did I just hallucinate? Did I imagine that plane?
If help doesn't come soon, Blake knows they're as good as dead.
The same plane, and as they flew over me, they dropped a bag of stuff.
The bag contains supplies and a walkie-talkie.
I turned that radio on. I kind of told him what had happened.
There's only one thought on Blake's mind.
Please hurry! You gotta go find my dad! He's 15 miles upstream. There'll be a fire going. You see a fire.
The pilot launches an aerial search for Neil.
And Tango, where are you guys at? Okay, we're gonna head north.
A plane reaches the right area within 10 minutes. Neil's camp should be easy to spot. But when the pilot reports back to Blake, the news is bad.
Hey, you gotta go back! He's up there! Keep going till you find him! He can't leave, he's gotta be at the camp. Maybe you go far enough. He can't walk. He's gotta be there.
I was worried something would happen to my dad. Because there's no way he could miss it.
You gotta go and find my dad.
And I fell to my knees.
Blake ignored his father's advice and left him to fend for himself. Now he must face a terrible thought, that his dad hasn't made it. The aerial search continues. But in such a vast wilderness, Neil's camp is proving hard to locate. Three hours later, a rescue helicopter picks up Blake and rushes to the scene.
Neil! Neil, you okay?
How did you know I was here?
I asked your son.
Blake?
He climbed in that helicopter.
Dad! I'm so sorry, Dad. So sorry.
Hell, all I could say was, man, you look like hell.
Well, you don't look that cute yourself.
I was very happy to see him. Very, very happy.
Can we get the hell home now? Let's get out of here.
And then we took off. Together again.
The men later learned that their initial camp was not on the flight path of any local aircraft. If Blake hadn't tried to hike out to Bettles, he and his father would almost certainly have died. After the accident, Blake moved his family back from Alaska to Oklahoma City to be closer to his mum and dad. He now runs a GP practice there, while Neil continues to run his building management firm. Blake and Neil still regularly go hiking together, but they've never gone rafting again.